everybody? Welcome into the Pillow Talk stream. The Pillow Talk, the second of two streams that we do here every day on the Radio Misfits podcast platform. The first one is High Noon. That comes on at noon Central Standard Times. That's topics, headlines, current events, trends, whatever it is that people are talking about. We cover it there on the High Noon show. Current events driven. Then we do this. We come back 9 o'clock Central Standard Time again, 9 p.m. for Pugs and Parker proudly present Pillow Talk on the Radio Misfits podcast platform. Let's bring in the second half of Pugs and Parker. His name is Parker. I'm Pugs. There he is.
You know, it sounds like from that intro, this is the least favorite of your two shows.
Oh, that's not true at all.
You're like, well, we got the High Noon. It's great. It's utilitarian and everything. Do it. And then we also have this.
Oh, no. I don't mean that at all. You know what? I guess the reason that you're picking up on, I mean, there is some truth. There might be some truth to that in some way. It's just maybe not quite as insulting to this stream as maybe you just framed it. The thing is that the noon show, there a lot more work goes into the noon show. There's just a lot more prep, and it's like there's a lot more. Like if I could just do one show every day, it'd be this one. Because this one is just, you're easy to work with. You always have stuff we can talk about. It's pretty easy. But the noon show, because it's just me and because it's dependent on whatever is trending or whatever people are talking about, there's research and shit that goes into it. You know what I mean? It's like there's work. There's like shit that's got to be done. No matter how much pleasure I derive from the finished product, no matter how much I enjoy doing the show, there's still shit you got to do. You know what I mean? It's like, oh, I got to do this again. Oh, I got to look.
And not only do you have to talk about stories, but you have to read them, actually, not just the headline, so you don't make an ass out of yourself.
Yeah, you have to have some kind of look. Pull the curtain back a little bit. The entire purpose of the High Noon show isn't so much to get you all prepped up. It's to create a vehicle for me to offer endless hot takes. Hot takes. That's all it really is. If we're being honest about what the High Noon show, I hope that you get maybe a little something out of it where you're like, oh, okay, I feel like I know at least what people are talking. If you get that, that's great. But the whole purpose of the show is just, it's a showcase for me to try and, just throw out some hot takes. So this one is more conversational. I prefer this. So maybe when I'm talking about the two shows, which is what James was just referring to when he said he thinks that I like this show less than I like the noon show. No, it's just maybe I describe the noon show a bit more seriously than I do this one because this one's easier for me.
I hear you. Hey, and it's the end of the month, so pay attention to the little banner down here.
Banner down there. End of the month.
End of the month. Bills are about to start coming in on the 1st, whether y'all donate or not. And I also like to remind you that I know some of you bastards haven't subscribed to the Florida Stories podcast yet, even though we've told you to a couple times. So this is not your last warning. So don't think you're getting out of it. Just sooner you do it, sooner I'll shut up.
Florida Stories. That's James's thing. Okay, before we get in, I wanted to ask you a little something just to start out the show here. A little quick something. The big news story of the day. Maybe you got it in your monologue. Maybe you don't. I don't know. We talked about it at noon, but we got the final tally in here. I don't know, about an hour after we signed off the noon show. R. Kelly got sentenced to 30 years in jail, James. 30 years in jail for all of his kid diddling bull crap that he's been involved in for decades, right out in the open. Dude had an album called Age Ain't Nothing But a Number while married to a 15-year-old. And we all just went, I guess that's okay. Right? I mean, R. Kelly.
That's a bold move. It's a bold move. We'd seen the video even.
But even before that, James, when he hooked up with Aaliyah, that wasn't a secret. That wasn't.
She was 15, right?
That wasn't a secret. It wasn't a secret that she was 15. It wasn't a secret that he had hooked up with her. There were people that talked about it. It was openly discussed, and people just went, "Yes, that's kind of weird. That's." No, but nobody called it pedophilia. You know what I mean? He wasn't thrown in jail in 1995. He didn't lose his recording contract for hooking up with a 15-year-old girl. You know what I mean?
Right.
It was just, ultimately, it was fine with us. We were like, yeah, whatever. You can keep making music.
Isn't that kind of, what's the cutoff then? Because did Elvis really take a PR hit for bringing along Priscilla when she was like 14 or 16 or how old was she when
she was 14? Yeah. And
God.
no, he didn't. He didn't at all. That was all after the fact. That was all stuff that was brought up in the 70s, years later. But yeah, nobody cared that Elvis was dating a 14-year-old girl that he met in a military base in Germany.
Okay, but it did hurt the career of Jerry Lee Lewis when he hooked up with his 13-year-old cousin.
Yeah, but that was more because it was incest. That was more because it
Oh,
was like
really? Not that she was 13?
I think there's I think it's a Wade scale. And I think that when you drop the incest cube onto this guy, I think it maybe tilted a little bit too far in one direction. Yeah. No, but my point is we didn't care. And he did this. He was running around out in public with like young women. You know, people were always like, how old is she? She was like, but whatever. So R. Kelly today finally catches all up with him. Changing times, social media, people able to, compound their outrage with other like-minded individuals on the social medias, and suddenly you create an echo chamber, and now you've got a Greek chorus of people demanding his head on a pike. And today's the day it happened. 30 years in jail for R&B superstar R. Kelly. Now, here's my question for you, James. I want you to think about this.
Okay.
How is R. Kelly going to do in jail over 30 years? How do you think he's going to do?
Oh, fantastic. He's going to be a king.
I do too. He's going to be the king of the jail.
Yeah.
He's going to be, because people are like, oh, he's going to love getting butt raped in prison. Ain't nobody going to butt rape R. Kelly in prison. Ain't nobody. R. Kelly's going to own the toughest gangs in the prison, the toughest gang members in prison who are going to be on his team, if you will, his little phalanx of security that he'll have everywhere he goes. Those people have parents. Those people have families out in the real world. R. Kelly's still got money out in the real world. Those people will be taken care of as long as R. Kelly is taken care of in prison. I think he's going to thrive. I think he's going to have a wonderful time.
Well, look, the only concern he really has, his fame will do him good. His street cred will do him good. His name recognition, this is all good. But the only thing that leaves a question mark on how he's going to do in prison is there is some weird code of ethics, even among prisoners, that they do not tread lightly when it comes to child molesters. And this is a dude who had child pornography going back 20 years.
Yeah.
He's had child pornography cases. You know, the whole Aaliyah case, it's not like, well, he just fell in love with this girl. And no, he has a thing for kids, and it continued over and over and over. And if kitty diddlers are frowned upon in the general population of our prison system, that might be the only thing that could, really make his life miserable.
Here's my question.
Is it enough?
I might know, you may know more about this than I do. I know that anybody who messes with children, and I will go along with society standards. I will say anyone under the age of 18, although, I think there are some 17-year-olds who may know what they're doing. I'm just saying we've drawn that line of demarcation there at 18 years old. And that's, I think, a fair number. Everybody that I've seen R. Kelly linked to seems to be on the positive side of, oh my God, this sounds terrible. This sounds terrible. But like the positive side of 13, right? Like he seems like he was into teens, not 4-year-olds, not 5-year-olds. So when I ask you about the prison thing, do you think there's some distinction made in prison among that? Like, you're in prison for having sex with a 16-year-old girl is not quite as bad as being in prison for having sex with a 3-year-old girl. You know what I mean? I understand why. You know what I'm saying?
Clearly one is worse. They're both bad.
But are they prison bad? Are they both prison bad?
Would a prisoner make that distinction?
Right. Like a 16-year-old isn't an 18-year-old. I don't know. I think prisoner would say that a 4-year-old, someone who molests a 4-year-old deserves a beatdown. But would a prisoner say that someone who molests a 16-year-old deserves that same ire? And that's what I think R. Kelly's dealing with. I think there's a lot of prisoners who are going to have to, inspect their moral code on this one and try and figure out where they draw the line.
Dang.
Because R. Kelly's got money, man.
He does. Well, the money thing is going to come in handy because he's probably going to get sort of the Bill Cosby thing where he gets put away, and after the public hubbub dies down, some lawyer is going to find some technicality and find a sympathetic judge, and he'll be out of there before 30 years is up. I really don't think he's going to do 30 years.
No, but he'll be in there till he's 70. I mean, he's 55 now, right? I mean, he'll do half of it.
Yeah,
He'll do 15 day on, day off. and by the way, I didn't mean to minimize any of the abuse that anybody under 18 takes. I'm just saying, like, within, because there is a difference in my mind's eye between a 16-year-old and a 4-year-old. And somebody that would molest a 4-year-old, to me, is far more evil than somebody that would molest a 16-year-old who very well may be developed and very well may look like a grown up. You know what I mean? Someone who is attractive to a child, to the kid thing, in my mind, is different than somebody who is just with an underage girl
Oh yeah,
who's
like none of it's excusable. Like the only kind that's
no.
excusable is if the girl like had said she was 20 and she looked like she was 20 and she had an ID that says she was 20 and everyone told you she was 20 and there was no sign whatsoever she was 20. I mean, maybe if she was like 17, you got to give a guy a pass on that. It's all messed up, but yeah, the guys that go after, like there are some people that are into like babies and stuff, and those people just need to be thrown in the wood chipper immediately. But I
Yes.
don't think R. Kelly
No,
gets wood chipper territory.
no, because I think that he likes. I think he's what do they call him? What do they call him? Oh my God, there's a term for these kinds of girls. Tweens. It's tweens that he's into. You know, he's into
Yeah.
post-pubescent young girls who are not fully legal, right? That's what he's into. Anyway, I think he's
Ugh.
gonna do fine in prison. I think
All
he's got
right,
money.
so here's another problem I've always had with the R. Kelly situation is I was a R. Kelly fan in high school and in college. R. Kelly was awesome. You go on a date, you play R. Kelly, and if the girl knows the music and starts singing along, that's a pretty good sign things are going to go your way. R. Kelly was so cool for so long, and then when he got in trouble, like he kind of heard about the Leah thing, and yeah, that's a little weird. But then when like the child porn stuff came out in like 2002, and then there was another incident where like when he was getting a divorce, his wife tattled on him for like abusing a bunch of girls and things like that. And the thing started to pile up. Not only does it bother you, but you go back and you're like, what was that album I had in high school that I loved of his? Oh, 12 play. Well, what the hell's 12 mean? And you're like, is he singing this to a 12-year-old? Or he wants to play with the 12-year-old? Is that what okay, so what are the songs that he's singing to this 12-year-old? Oh, let's go through them. Your body's calling. Oh, like they just, hit puberty and the hormones are raging. Is it your body's calling?
So I'm saying
Uh,
he wasn't hiding, James. He wasn't hiding. He was
there's an
married to a 15-year-old. He wasn't hiding.
right. So he's looking at 12 play, bump and grind. I don't see nothing wrong with the little bump and grind. Well, can I see your ID first? Are you seeing this at the McDonald's playground? He has another song called Sex Me, which is a great song. It's totally cool when I'm going on a date with Amy Trimble and trying to like use this as like a question, like sex me. You like this song? Like, but it's gross when I find out that he is probably like the inspiration he has for this. He's probably watching like Nickelodeon or whatever to get his
Right?
muse.
Yeah.
Right. And so like I like this song, but it's probably inspired by some really gross, you know, pedophilia sort of sickness.
I bet if
And
we I bet if we broke down a song that seemed as I'm not gonna say innocent, but seemed as straightforward as Ignition, we'd probably find some pretty questionable lyrics in Ignition.
well, he has like another song called Summer Bunnies. And it's like, I mean, look, that's all kind of all cutesy and stuff when I was a junior in high school. Yeah, summer bunnies, like them hot chicks, like when you're, no, I think he means like summer bunnies, like,
Summer bunnies like baby rabbits. Okay, all right. I don't. At any rate, that's the other thing that I don't think that people understand. I think your generation. I think your generation gets it. I think that my generation does not because R. Kelly came out. We missed R. Kelly. We missed R. Kelly by just a couple of years or so. My generation. Uh, First of all, he is extraordinarily black famous. He is in the world of black famous. R. Kelly is one of the most black famous people on the planet. He's not so much white famous though. Like I don't think my mother could name one R. Kelly song.
yeah,
And he,
he's kind of like Mary J. Blige.
yeah, he's black famous. He is super famous in the black community. Everybody knows everything about him. But then in the white world, we've heard of him, but we're not all that familiar with him because his music was played almost exclusively on urban R&B stations, which just simply does not have a white audience that would talk about it. It's not like the mix.
Well,
If
yeah,
R.
but
Kelly wanted to get a white audience, he'd have to have a couple of songs that would cross over onto a mix format. But he didn't really have that. Although I guess Ignition was a crossover.
Ignition was definitely crossover, but that was way after he was already famous.
And it was late. Yeah, right? Ignition was
Mhm.
like in the mid-2000s. That's
Mhm.
like, yeah. All right. Well, R. Kelly, we hardly knew ye, and now you're going to go to prison for a whole bunch of time. And
Kind of probably deserved it.
Godspeed, Robert.
You sick bastard.
You sick man. Hey, what do you say we do ourselves a little thing that we do each and every day here? You want to do you want to, what do we call it?
The monologue?
Yeah, you want to do a monologue bit?
I do. Or are you just waiting for the sound effects to kick in? Boy, the Tonight Show band's really slow tonight, huh?
There we go. All right, ladies and gentlemen, please welcome to the Comfort Nest Comedy Lounge, high atop the One Percenter compound in beautiful downtown Highland Park, Texas. I am Pugs Moran, your humble master of soda. Oh, geez, I don't know. Maybe I should write it down instead of just trying to extemporaneously introduce you every night. Please welcome to the stage,
James Kelly Parker. Yeah.
Mortimer Parker.
Kelly.
Big screen. Oh, there he goes. I know what he likes. There he is. All right.
There it is. Hey. Oh, good crowd. Good to see you tonight. Oh, you're beautiful. You look beautiful. Hey, kind of scary news here. Blink 182 drummer Travis Barker is hospitalized with pancreatitis, and they're having a hard time. He's refusing to take an IV, saying he just hates needles.
Oh, see, because he's covered in tats, probably did drugs. Hey, you know what? I saw him trending yesterday, James. I saw Travis Barker trending, and you know what I said to myself? Here's what I said when I saw him trending. I saw Travis Barker trending, and I said to myself, I go, he's either dead or this is something that I don't care about even slightly. And I clicked on it, and it was neither. It was that he had been rushed to the hospital. So I'm like, okay.
Yeah, I get scared. Like it'll be like now trending Willie Nelson. Oh shit! Because you think he died.
Well, it was either going to be like Travis Barker found dead, or who's a better drummer, Tommy Lee or Travis Barker? You know what I mean? Something like that. Where I'm just like,
look at his new hair.
Who cares?
Okay. California is in the grip of a severe drought, or as most Californians call it, no agua. That was a tough one. CNN's ratings are in a free fall. It's so bad that guy had to change his name to Lone Wolf Blitzer. Lone Wolf.
Get that guy out of there.
Blitzer. All right. In Oregon, the supply of legal marijuana is overwhelming the demand. It's kind of good news, right, Pugs? In reaction, state officials are urging citizens to start rolling bigger joints, please. Can you just have too much weed?
Well, it's
great problem.
Price got to come down if that's the situation.
So the Cruise Victims Association reports that more than 300 people have disappeared at sea on cruises since the year 2000. The group says safety is an important concern, but there's no need to go overboard. Eat the bad joke. In Oklahoma City, a 19-year-old naked man who was high on mushrooms was arrested after he tried to sexually assault a dog. Man, that's horrible. Where did he get those mushrooms? Certainly don't want to try that myself. An Alaskan cruise on the Norwegian Sun was cut short when the ship collided with an iceberg. According to reports, some passengers were so terrified they actually stopped eating.
That doesn't seem like something that shouldn't happen anymore. Shouldn't we have the whole iceberg situation worked out?
It happened. It talked to the Norwegian Sun. In Oklahoma, a 97-year-old woman has finally received her high school diploma, and on the advice of her guidance counselor, she's going to be attending a 2-year college.
2-year college. 2-year, 97 years old. 2 years. Get it? She's going to die.
She won't make it through a 4-year college. All right, tonight's Powerball jackpot. Did you get a ticket, Pugs? For Powerball? $365 million is the pot. Sadly, my wife and I are already fighting over how to spend the money.
That's the joke.
Like we're gonna win it. Fine, it's not a good joke. You can boo it.
That's a terrible joke.
Well,
terrible joke.
Boo it then. You got the booze.
That's like, hey, the lottery's up to $300 million. What are you guys gonna do if you win? That's not a joke.
My wife and I are already fighting over how to spend the money. Is
That's not a
ridiculous
joke. That's an aside.
because
That's
yeah, but we're both delusional enough that we think we're going to win. There's
everybody thinks that. That's why they get the. All right, just move on.
according to a new study, Pugs,
Okay.
contraceptives that turn up in our waters are causing fish to become transgender. To give you an idea of how bad it is, SpongeBob is now rhubarb. Rhubarb. All right, I'll take it. McDonald's is now testing automated drive-through service. Engineers say once the technology has been perfected, then they will try to fix all the damn ice cream machines.
Sorry, I X'd out of my stuff.
It's all right. It was on this day in 1967. Keith Richards was sentenced to a year in prison for a drug conviction, and the punishment worked so good, Keith had stayed sober for about 20 minutes. So it didn't work. So, drug convictions. Are you just trying to reopen your window or something?
You get that one for that.
Fine, I'll take it.
There you go.
All right, Pugs, I got one of these, this day in history for you. This one goes back. Yeah. It was on this day, June 29th, 1868, astronomer George Ellery Hale was born. You know, he's an astronomer, so, you know, blah, 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 Uranus.
Again,
the middleman.
Such a lazy joke right there.
That's pretty lazy. You're not a George Hale fan? No?
I was unfamiliar with his work until moments ago.
He did he discovered magnetic radiation around sunspots, built a bunch of big telescopes. Anyway, it was on this day in 2007, the Apple iPhone went on sale, which revolutionized the way people ignore each other.
Oh, it sure does.
Yeah, thank you. All right.
Big day in history today for that. Changed the world.
And finally, we have a birthday today, Pugs. Happy birthday to rapper MC Magic, who is 52 years old. You remember him from the late 80s?
Nope.
Well, he's 52 years old, which in rap years is 127.
Oh, okay. There you go. Very good, James. Look at him. Look at him. Let's make him normal again so that he's not bigger than everybody else.
Yeah, so Jeff must have got his account hacked again or killed again because now he's Glenwright Jefferson instead of Jefferson Glenwright. You see that?
Nah, he called somebody a fag on Facebook. That's what happened. He was talking about it last night.
No need to have that account anymore. And he says his birthday won't happen again for 7 years. That's the punchline for Haley, not Hale. Different astronomer. Haley's comet comes around every 72 years.
Different guy. All right. Hey, you got anything?
It's Mike Tyson's birthday, but I don't want to make fun of him because he'll reach through the screen and punch the crap out of me.
Tomorrow's Mike Tyson's birthday.
Yeah, tomorrow's Mike Tyson. Well, I'm sorry. I'm not going to be here tomorrow.
Oh, you know what? That's okay. We're not doing a show tomorrow. I wanted to mention that.
Oh, good.
Yeah, I'm starting the 4th of July. Everybody who listens to the noon show knows that there won't be a noon show on Friday. Friday is, but I got to pick up my kid early. So I got to pick up my kid early tomorrow afternoon. And then we've got something we've got to do tomorrow evening. So there will be no show tomorrow evening. Officially 4th of July weekend. We hang out the Gone Fishing single at about, 1 or 1:30 tomorrow after we finish the noon show. And it's going to be a shorter than normal noon show because I have to pick him up at a time when I wouldn't normally. Anyway, you get the point. So don't worry about it. Yeah, no show tomorrow.
Yeah. So last show of the month. Mm-hmm. This little caption right here is what buys Mason groceries. Do you want Mason to have groceries?
That's not entirely what buys Mason groceries. But yes, that's anything you can do to help out the show, we'd appreciate it. But we're not pushing that hard. We're going to be just fine. So if you can help, we'd appreciate it. There are multitudes of ways you can. You can do it on the Cash App. You can do it on the Venmo. You can do it on PayPal. Any of those ways, your gratuities help keep this show going. 2 shows a day, noon show, and then the Pillow Talk show right here at 9 p.m. Noon show at noon, this one at 9 p.m. All right, what do you got, James? Anything?
All right, Mike Tyson's birthday. Now that you've seen the whole story arc, I mean, what is he like now, 56? Or isn't that what he's going to be tomorrow?
57, 58, somewhere in there. Yeah.
All right.
So 5 years older than me, I think.
So I've always been interested in Mike Tyson long term because Mike Tyson was the first guy that got me interested in boxing when I was growing up, and he was the last guy that had me interested in boxing. My entire life, there hadn't been anything like him as far as boxing.
You don't remember Ali? Oh, see, yeah, I guess
How
you're a
the
little
hell
too
would I
young.
remember
Yeah,
Ali?
you're too young to remember Ali. Yeah, I remember
Yeah.
the very end. I remember the '70s Ali. I remember the end of Ali, and then when he started to lose in the '80s. But yeah, okay, I can see that. Tyson would be your first.
Well, they also had Mike Tyson's Punch Out, and I
Right.
had that on Nintendo. And like, man, he was the jam. And then he got in trouble. And you know, that's kind of you see a lot of celebrities who have a meteoric rise and then they do stupid stuff and they ruin it all. I mean, there's 1,000 of those here. But I'm kind of interested in the fact that Mike Tyson has been able to rehab himself so well. And I really doubt. I don't have any evidence, and this sounds really shallow, but just based on observation of this guy for the last 30 years since his fall, do you think he raped that chick that he went to prison for? Because usually these guys are recidivists. There's 1,000 complaints from 1,000 different people. Like the Bill Cosby had like 48 different women who accused him of stuff. And
Mm.
Mike Tyson, since he got out of prison, seems to have, for the most part, kept his nose clean and avoided any other accusations. And the longer that timeline starts to pile up, the more I kind of question the idea that he was ever some sort of sexual assault monster to begin with. And I know that's not fair to the victim or to the trial or anything like that, but that's how I feel.
Debbie Washington, I believe, is the name of his victim. Who you're trying to think? We could
That
probably
sounds
double
right.
check that. She was a beauty pageant contestant at the Miss America pageant, or maybe it was Miss USA. I think it might have been Miss USA down there in Indianapolis. And Mike Tyson supposedly raped her, forced her without her consent to have sex with him in his hotel room there in Indianapolis. Your question to me is, back then in that era, do I believe Mike Tyson raped her? And I will tell you, with complete confidence, hell yes, he did. Mike Tyson was a crazed animal back then. I have absolutely no doubt that a 23-year-old Mike Tyson, who was raised like a wolf, I mean, he was raised not like a loving, compassionate, normal person, mainstreamed for, everyday life. He was raised, he was a throwaway kid. He was a garbage human that no one could find anything to do with until this guy Customato up in upstate New York decided that he was going to take him out of the Bronx, Brownsville, and was going to train him to be a monster. And for about 8 years of his formative days, he was turned into an absolute monster. So, yes, do I believe that he raped that girl? I do. What do I think is going on with Mike Tyson now? Like, what would explain the way Mike Tyson seems to have overcorrected, possibly in some ways, over the last 20 years? Pills, medication. Mike Tyson is a crazy person. Mike Tyson has a chemical imbalance in his brain that is scary as shit. Certainly because we know that he has these well honed world class skills to be able to really hurt somebody if he wants to go a little bit crazy. Um, Mike Tyson, after he got out of prison and after his reattempted becoming a top flight boxer again failed, he got involved with a woman who was a doctor in Baltimore, and he married her. And she was a very impressive woman. And every time you saw Mike Tyson with her, you were like, really? what's he doing with her? She seems like this Ivy League educated neurosurgeon, and she apparently got him. I don't think they're still together. I think that they have since broken up. But she is the one who is credited with getting Mike Tyson to take his pills every day. And he's been taking his pills every day for 30 years. And this is the Mike Tyson that we have come to see now. The more lucid, docile. Dude, I describe Mike Tyson. This is what Mike Tyson is. This is how I've described him now for 30 years. Mike Tyson is the Bengal tiger that the super rich dad gets all doped up and then brings to his kid's 10th birthday party. All the kids are petting the Bengal tiger. Here comes the tiger, and he's just loaded with barbiturates, and this tiger isn't hurting anybody. That's what Mike Tyson has been in the public square for the past 30 years. He is that Bengal tiger at some Saudi oil prince's kid's 10th birthday party. And,
Okay,
and, and we're lucky.
that's an interesting explanation because we had such a pattern for a while there, not just the Washington rape trial, but the whole Robin Givens thing where he supposedly like hit her and left her on the roof of the house. She had to like
Totally believe
escape
he
out
did
of
that.
yeah,
Totally believe.
and so
He
then he
was
goes to
a murder machine back then.
I know. So he goes to prison, gets out, and he still does a couple of crazy. He gets in trouble for like punching a photographer, I think, and then he bites Holyfield's ear off. And I'm like, okay, this guy's a total sicko. He's gonna either be dead or in jail in 20 years. And
Mhm.
here he is. I don't want to say he's completely rehabbed his image, but
He has for the
he's
most part.
he's socially
He's
accepted,
pretty
sure, and
lovable,
like great little.
right? I mean,
Sure, I
people
do.
love him
That
now.
cartoon what that he did with Norm Macdonald was hilarious. Um, his little bit parts in movies like The Hangover are just
His Broadway
adorable.
one-man play on HBO was amazing. Anybody
Oh, I
who saw
never saw
that,
that.
you never saw
I
Tyson?
didn't even know that existed.
Oh, you have HBO Max?
I don't think I do right now. I
Okay,
did
well,
before, but
maybe you can
no,
find it.
no, 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 no. We have my mother-in-law's password.
He had a smash show, probably going back 10 years now. He had a smash Broadway show where he just got up on stage and told stories from his life, and it is awesome. So get into your mom's or your stepmom's HBO Max and find Tyson on Broadway. It's incredible. You'll love
Mother-in-law,
him.
but
You'll
yeah.
absolutely love him
I
when you're
saw
done with it.
something. I saw something where it was a documentary where someone interviewed him and he goes back and tells his life story and he talks about just being swept up with the guys on the street during the day because his mom didn't pay attention to him. So, they would go steal cars or, whatever, do
Mhm.
criminal stuff. And he tells what was the Kustamana, what was his name? The old
Customato.
dude. Yeah.
Yeah,
That
Customato.
that basically took him under his wing, saved his life, and gave him just VHS tapes of all the awesome boxing matches throughout history. And he says you just sat there and watched them over and over. Like all he did for like a year was just watch boxing and practice boxing. Like he didn't even watch other TV shows. Like it's a really cool story though because it is turned into a redemption story. And I am such a hard ass myself when it comes to people who screw up and go to prison, especially for sex things like rape or domestic violence or whatever. When they get out, I'm like, they're just going to end up back in prison. These guys, the recidivism rate's just out of control. You're crazy to start rehabbing these guys, but
Well, but
Tyson
that's
gives me
they don't
hope.
yeah, but Tyson is a different story. When Tyson came out of prison, there was still money to be made off of him being well behaved, and I think that had a lot to do with it. The 9 out of 10 people who are recidivists when it comes to violent crime, there's no loss for them if they turn into a serial rapist. You know what I mean? Mike Tyson, there was money to be made if Mike
More to
Tyson.
lose, and
Yeah,
there's more
yeah.
of an incentive for handlers around him to help him, I guess.
Also, I want to go back to the Customato story because in the story of Mike Tyson, and by the way, there are 2 Mike Tyson movies being made right now, 2 biographies, one big name, like big movies, big studio movies. We talked about them on the High Noon Show a couple weeks back. I don't remember what they are, but they're 2 competing ones. The story in the fable of Mike Tyson has always been what an incredible savior in his life Customato has been, and how Customato took him out of away from his family and moved him up there to upstate New York, where he just, as you said, he sat him down, made him watch all these boxes, and it's always Cuss, he loved Cuss, and it's always romanticized because Mike Tyson at 21 went on to become the youngest heavyweight champion in the history of the world. But the fact of the matter is that he was abused. There is no, if Mike Tyson did not turn out to be the youngest heavyweight champion in the world, and he just turned out to be some kid who wanted to be a boxer and moved up to upstate New York and didn't turn into a boxer, we would look at that Customato story in Mike Tyson way differently. We would look at that like an old man who had never had real success in boxing, saw an opportunity to try and, turn a kid into a gold mine. And so he basically just enslaved him and turned him into a boxing machine at 14 years old. That's abuse. I mean, by almost any measure. And I've heard, I don't know what it was. It was some famous national sports talker, Bill Simmons, maybe years ago, was talking about the whole Customato thing and about how is there ever going to come a point where we're going to go, maybe Customato ruined this kid. Maybe Customato is the reason that he was so screwed up. Instead of saying that he saved him from a life of being a gang member in Bronzeville, Brooklyn. Maybe anyway, that's just something I always thought was
Well,
interesting about Mike Tyson.
what you have described is sort of the backstory of every single one of the young figure skaters that shows up in the Olympics, they've basically been enslaved. Now, just because it's by their biological parents and not some old Italian dude named Cuss, um, it's still, they don't want to practice skating 8 hours a day or bobsledding or whatever the hell it is. But these overachieving young Olympians, these like,
Gymnasts. Yeah.
yeah, gymnasts, fiddle prodigies, you know, these
Anybody who's a prodigy, really.
right. So there's no way around it. So I'm not too worried about the idea that Cuts just enslaved this guy, given the fact that his other option was to probably be dead or in prison by now just from being on the streets. That doesn't work with Mike Tyson.
No. But it doesn't also have to be the good thing. Like, just because he ran off with Customato and moved up there doesn't mean that he received an upbringing that we should be bragging about and romanticizing. And the story of what Customato did with Mike Tyson was romanticized for decades. It was always brought up as, this man saved his life. I'm like, this man saw a gold mine. What do you mean this man
Well,
saved
also,
his life?
I give a lot of credence in my opinion of the situation to what I've seen Mike Tyson say about that dude, and
Yeah.
he loves that old man. And
Yeah,
if Mike
but Mike
Tyson,
Tyson is a crazy person. We've already established that, who needs to
true,
be
true.
on pills. Mike
That's my
Tyson lived
primary source, though. That's what I got.
Mike Tyson was 13. He lived in a shack without hot and cold running water. He was forced to live in a shack in the back. I mean, this wasn't the loving household where Mike Tyson learned how to be a human being, is what I'm saying. And that's the way it was always framed. It was always framed like, this is the environment that saved Mike Tyson. And I'm like, this dude Customato was not a famous boxing guy. He was like a mid-level. He had handled a couple of guys who were maybe kind of names for 6 months in 1962. This guy, we're not talking about one of the great names in boxing. And now, whenever the name Customato is brought up, it's revered as if he's like trained multiple champions. No, he didn't. He discovered Mike Tyson. He was an old man at the end of his career who, in his 80s, stumbled across this gold mine kid, let him live in his house, turned him into a killing machine, made a little bit of money, and then died. That's the story. As
All
I
right. So why do I only care about Mike Tyson in the boxing world, and I've never cared about anyone else?
Well, your generation, for one thing. Boxing was pretty much falling apart by the time you came along. If you were 10 years older, I would say, if you were my age, you would add to Mike Tyson, you would add names like Sugar Ray Leonard. You would add Muhammad Ali for sure. You would add Joe Frazier. You would add these people because you would have seen them, Marvin Hagler, Tommy Hearns. You would have named these people that you saw in the 70s. But by the time you really started to become aware, and by the time that Mike Tyson became the premier event in the sport of boxing, boxing was dead. Tyson was just rolling through everybody. Mike Tyson never had a great rival, I mean, maybe
Kind of
Holyfield.
Holyfield, yeah.
That is not like Muhammad Ali and not George, Muhammad Ali and Joe Frazier, or Muhammad Ali and
Foreman.
no, not Foreman. Who was the other guy that Muhammad Ali used to fight? The guy that he won the title from. Guy who's got a weird name for a champion, but everybody says he's like one of the greatest champions of all time. Who is the guy that Cassius Clay beat? Sonny Liston. He didn't have
Okay.
this whole. There was never any competition for Mike Tyson. He just got in there, decapitated a dude, and then went to the casino. That was it for 10 years of boxing, pretty much.
Well, and it spoiled me because I watch other boxing matches. I'm like, why is this taking longer than 90 seconds?
Right?
People are taking forever. What is this? The ninth round? Are you all even trying? Yeah.
But if you were 5, 6, 7, 8 years old in the 1970s, in the mid 1970s, I think you'd have been exposed to a lot more boxing than being
Well,
5,
I
6,
tell you
7, 8
what's
years old in
cool.
the mid 80s.
It's I've spent weird amount of time going through old media from like 100 years ago, because I love to just flip through because you can do this online through like an old New York Times or like Dallas Morning News or something to that effect, where they talk about how, hey, this Hitler guy just won chancellor in Germany, what could possibly go wrong? And when you go to the sports page, it seems like the biggest deals in the world were boxing, horse racing,
Mhm.
and then in third place baseball.
Mhm.
no one cared about football or hockey or soccer or basketball or
No, James, if you were to step out onto any American street corner in 1955, you could find any random person and you could ask them 3 questions and they could tell you the
Mm.
answer to all 3 of these questions.
Oh, I love this bit. Yeah.
You ask the same question to someone in 2022 on the street, they will look at you like you're insane. Those questions are, Mr. 1955, what horse won the Kentucky Derby? Who's the heavyweight champion of the world? And name Miss America. In 1955, they could give you all 3 of those like that. 2022, you can't name any. I can't name any of those. James, who won the Kentucky Derby? It was just last month.
Oh shit! It was like on my birthday this year.
I don't
Right?
know. Name Miss America, James. Can you name it? Name the heavyweight champion of the world in 2022. We can't do it.
I don't
World
know.
changes.
Yeah, I'd like. Wait, do you not know the heavyweight champion of the world?
Not a chance.
Yeah, I don't.
No
I
idea. Boxing is so
Nope.
splintered now. There are so many different belts. There are so many different titles. I have no idea. I guess Tyson Fury is up there. I guess.
Logan Paul, maybe.
Deontay Wilder.
I think it's
No,
Logan
he's
Paul.
not even ranked.
Aaron Paul.
Yeah, no, they're still amateurs. Those are crazy pay-per-view fighters off YouTube. No, like Tyson
I know.
Fury.
I know.
It'd be Tyson Fury and Deontay Wilder. But they're not big names. Boxing, UFC. The average person could probably tell you the UFC heavyweight champion before they could tell you a boxing champion. The world has changed. Miss America, man, Miss America was a big deal. If you were Miss America in 1956, oh, that's it. You're Kim Kardashian for the whole year. We're just gonna we had a Kim Kardashian every year back then, and it was whoever won the Miss America contest. Hey, but here's something interesting that I wanted to stumble onto, and I want you to give this some thought because you brought it up in talking about Mike Tyson, whose birthday it is tomorrow. Mike Tyson, yeah, man, you're right. One of the great redemption stories of all time.
Wait, hang on. Just the commenters are killing it over there. You're like, who's his big rival? Who's Mike Tyson's rival? All right. So Jeff says Buster Douglas. Haha, that's funny. But Byron says Bald Bull. Also Piston Honda. Yeah, you want to go down? You want Glass Joe? King Hippo.
These are all Mike Tyson knockout opponents.
Soda Popinski, Super Macho Man. Mr. Sandman was my favorite. Yeah.
So you brought up Mike Tyson and his redemption story and how he has gone from being somebody that was just not allowed in close contact with them and nice, good people to being a guy that, everybody loves. Hey, Tyson's here. Hey, Mike, Iron Mike, I love you. Like embraced. Great redemption story. If in 1995 you had told me that Mike Tyson would be appropriate to bring around my 13-year-old kid, I'd have been like, what? Are you insane? But today we'd wait in line to shake Mike Tyson's hand because Mike Tyson is that guy now. Great redemption story. Any other Hollywood redemption stories that you can think of? Like people who, like we know the falls, like OJ is probably one of the biggest falls, but OJ hadn't had a redemption story.
None of them are that bad because, like Robert Downey Jr. is kind of obvious one, a guy who hit complete rock bottom and,
I think that's the one I wrote down. I think Robert Downey Jr. may not be as bad given that there was a rape charge involved with Mike Tyson, but the sheer wealth of indiscretions that Robert Downey Jr. acquired over about a 5-year period, I think it drowns Mike Tyson. Mike Tyson got in trouble a couple of times. He raped a girl and he fought Mitch Green in Harlem. Those are like the two, and he drove a car with Robin Givens into a tree on his own property. Those are like 3 things. Robert Downey Jr. was getting arrested every week for something just really silly, like getting fucked up and ended up in the wrong bed, peeing in people's yards, going through airports with like pocket fills with the cocaine and pills. That redemption story was big, man. Robert Downey
but
Jr.
drugged up is not the same as violent and sexual assault.
No, it's not. It's not. Irresponsibility and just being a pampered Hollywood piece of garbage, which is kind of what Robert Downey Jr. was.
Well, just a junkie too, yeah.
Junkie, yeah. Ironically, it's Mike Tyson being on drugs that has actually brought him back down. to normal civilized society standards.
Brady, are you thinking about Drew Barrymore? Is that a redemption story that counts?
Yeah, to a degree, right? She was pretty knocked around.
She
People
didn't rape anyone.
No, but she was kind of unhirable, right? I mean, aren't we talking about people? Robert Downey Jr. was unhirable. Robert Downey Jr. was one of the most well-regarded young actors of his generation. The dude was coming off multiple Academy Award nominations. A Chaplin, the guy was unbelievable as Chaplin. Many people still believe he should have won the Oscar for Best Actor for his portrayal of Charlie Chaplin. He was brilliant, and then nobody would hire him. And it was 5, 6 years of nobody hiring Robert Downey Jr. And then all of a sudden,
Iron
bam,
Man.
Iron Man, whatever, anything Robert Downey Jr. There, we have an A list, a B list, a C list, and a D list. That is the popular sort of flow chart that you see when people tell you who's important in Hollywood. Robert Downey Jr. is not only on the A list, but he's about as high up on the A list in 2022 as you can get. He's as big a movie star as the world has to offer. Don't give me your Leonardos. I'll give you a Robert Downey Jr. Don't give me your Clooney's. I'll give you a Robert. He's in that league with those people. And he was unhirable. That's a crazy redemption story.
So those are probably the two biggest then. Because these guys who go through sexual assault charges and it sticks, they just don't come back like Mike Tyson does. I don't know anyone else who's come back from one of those.
Yeah, no, Mike Tyson's a rapist. He went to jail for raping a woman. And now it's like that's an afterthought. We don't even consider that anymore when we think about it. But is there anybody else? I can't think of it. Nobody else in the chat room has anybody.
He's the only one.
Andy Dick is still in the throes of his mayhem. Andy Dick has been a lunatic for 40 years now. I don't think Andy's pulling out of it.
Certainly hadn't been redeemed. He's still down in the gutter.
Carrie Fisher's a good one. Carrie Fisher was in a bad way for a real long time. Yeah, she was throughout the 1980s. And then she rebounded in the 90s.
Well, Charlie Sheen's a maybe.
Charlie Sheen is a great one. That is a great one. Oh my God, it was just about 10 years ago when it was the whole Tiger Blood thing. Remember when Charlie was going crazy?
Yeah, but has he been redeemed since then? What's he done since then?
Well, but he hasn't done anything. It hasn't progressed. Maybe he has sort of sought his own orbit. Like, he's not getting in trouble anymore, right?
Well, in order for it to be a redemption story, he needs to be redeemed. He hasn't been redeemed. He's still with like Andy. And Jeff also says Lance Armstrong. Lance Armstrong hasn't been redeemed. Lance Armstrong had to change the name of his bike shop in Austin to take his name off of it.
Yeah, no. Well, Lance Armstrong has definitely not been redeemed. Charlie Sheen, I think, has. I think when Charlie Sheen had that, like multi-year run on 2.5 Men, I think that was redemption. I think that worked. No, he didn't. No, Charlie Sheen left 2.5 Men.
That's what he lost.
The place. That's what he lost. Ooh, yeah. I don't know.
Still hadn't been redeemed. Andy Dick has not been redeemed. Lance Armstrong has not been redeemed.
Anybody.
And none of them have a sex charge on them.
Yeah, no. None of them. Phil Spector's dead. Trying to think, like, is there anybody there? There really is. There's nobody else. OJ ain't gonna be redeemed. That ship has sailed. He ain't gonna get anything.
Well, R. Kelly didn't get redeemed. He just got prison.
OJ would be the big one because that's a double murder.
He's not redeemed. It's not like he's got a new Netflix show.
But that would be the big one. That's my point. Like if all
he came back, wow, that would be
years,
amazing.
In 10 years, OJ's got like some streaming show, like the Red Table or whatever that streaming show. It's OJ and he's interviewing people and he's getting legit guests in 10 years. Yeah, then that will be a redemption. And that will be the biggest redemption because double murder trumps raping a beauty pageant contestant. It just does. I'm sorry, folks. I know one.
Yeah, because what Mike Tyson did was horrible, but he didn't kill her.
He didn't murder 2 people on the doorstep.
Well, here's the deal. It's also, look, OJ, the concern about OJ is no one wants to work with him because, he can kill you. But if you wait until he's like 85 or something, then yeah, let's go ahead and wheel this old bag of bones out. And, even if he goes crazy on you, you can still probably defend yourself.
Bill Folk says Artie Lang. How's Artie Lang redeemed himself? That dude
certainly not redeemed. Yeah,
he's spiraling down the drain, bit by bit. I don't know how Artie Lang has redeemed himself. Any women? I keep waiting. The one I'm waiting for. I'm in the weeds waiting on. Who I think.
For a redemption story.
for a redemption, who I think could have a redemption here. And as a matter of fact, if you could buy stock in people, I would buy a little bit of stock just because we love a redemption. And
Well,
she
it's not
might.
Amy Winehouse.
Lindsay Lohan. I think Lindsay
Oh
Lohan.
yeah,
I think
that's
a
a great
40.
call.
I think a 40-year-old Lindsay Lohan could find herself playing a mom on a hit sitcom, and suddenly it'll all
Hmm.
be forgotten. It'll all be like,
Yeah,
hey, wasn't she crazy when she was 20? Yeah, but she's like 45 now and kind of a hot mom, and she seems like she's got her shit together. I could see that.
she's so
Brittany,
relatable with her raspy voice,
oh
and
God.
yeah,
She did a reality show a couple of years ago when she was like, she moved back to New York to get away from all the bad influences in Los Angeles. Oh my God. I don't know if you saw any of this reality show. It only aired for like 5 episodes because, as it turns out, James, she wasn't dependable and they couldn't film an entire season because she stopped showing up.
shocked, totally
James,
shocked.
she is such a train wreck. She is such a train wreck. Her like New York City apartment, it was like a hoarder lived there. Everything was in like giant trash bags. And every single room of her New York apartment had an ashtray with like 2 cigarettes burning in it. Every single room. She would walk into every room, pick up a cigarette out of an ashtray, take a drag, put it down, walk into the next room. So when you hear Lindsay Lohan and she sounds like this, it's because, at least from the reality show that I watched, she appears to smoke about 5 or 6 packs of cigarettes a day. And she's probably been doing that since she was 10 years old. Because, Hollywood actress.
Dang, yeah,
She would be a good one. She would be a good one. How about Britney? Could Britney pull out? No, she's got a new chance here.
bro. Do you follow Britney Spears on Instagram? Because if not,
Yeah.
stop what you're doing. Okay,
Yeah.
because she keeps posting nudie photos of her dancing around, or just topless for no reason, and it's fantastic. But uh, of all the people that put stuff on Instagram and they do the little selfies, she's one of the few that never talks. She doesn't sing either. It's like, lady, you're a singer. Why aren't you singing? No, she just puts on cute clothes and then she just kind of poses and poses and poses, pose,
No.
turn around, pose. Huh? How do I look in this? And it's from the angle way up here, so it's like looking down at her boobs, and
She's
she's
trying too hard. She's trying. I loved it months ago when she first reappeared on Instagram and she was doing all the slutty things. And now I'm just like, she's trying too hard.
she is, and the crazy for her is not over. The
Yeah,
crazy for her
I think
still
so.
has there's some burning embers under there, and it's about to flame up again. So
Yeah.
if she does try a redemption story, it's not going to work, and
Oh,
it's going to
fizzle.
go. It's not going to go like she wants it to go. It'll be entertaining for me and you and Jeff and April and Byron and Al. We'll all have
Sure
a
will.
good laugh at. But she's better off to just not even trying. You don't need the money. You don't need the fame. You don't need to go embarrass yourself. Don't try redemption. Just don't.
April points out the time Reese Witherspoon got drunk down in Atlanta and fought with a cop. That was so long ago, and it was such a one-off. And because she was drunk, I don't think Reese Witherspoon suffers from that. I think Reese Witherspoon is pretty well beloved, and she's fine. She doesn't need a redemption story. She just did a bad thing. She had a bad moment. But, people like Lindsay Lohan had like 10 bad moments over the course of 2 weeks back in 2007, right?
Yeah.
That's
Well,
what we're talking about. We're not talking about one bad evening where you
yeah,
yelled
Lindsay
at
Lohan's gone about a decade without a good moment.
yeah, yeah, but she's been quiet enough. So Lindsay Lohan has been quiet enough in the past 3-4 years that it makes me think that maybe she's got that new commercial. Have you seen the new Lindsay Lohan commercial?
No,
She's got a commercial for some workout place. It's like some gym, some like you join a gym, whatever it is.
Planet Fitness or whatever.
Yeah, exactly. It's like a Planet Fitness thing, and the commercial is just some dude, and he's just like on this treadmill. He's like, and he looks over and he sees Lindsay Lohan. He's like, check it out, it's Lindsay Lohan, and then Lindsay Lohan walks out of the club. That's
A-
it.
April says greatest redemption for a female has to be Martha Stewart. What does she do? Insider trading? Get out of here.
Yeah, I don't buy that.
Yeah, Brady says Tiger Woods. Pretty good. Pretty good. I mean, it wasn't really that much of a low. Oh, he cheated on his wife. Oh, I'm shocked.
Yeah, no. I don't
So
think he needed a redemption story. He just, again, incidents. He had a couple of incidents. It was not a lifestyle. The people that we're talking about who need redemptions are people whose incidents became their lifestyle. The Andy Dicks, the Charlie Sheens, the Robert
Right.
Downey Jr.'s.
And so when people are like, "Can you believe Tiger's cheated on his wife with 80 different women?" I'm like, "I'm surprised it's not 1,000."
Yeah, he's Tiger Woods.
Yeah, Brady Morris says maybe Hugh Grant.
No, again, that's just a singular screw up. And he
Really,
never
the whole
even,
hooker thing? Didn't he like have a tranny or something? Wasn't that a
no,
tranny thing?
he was on his way home to Elizabeth Hurley, who was his fiance, one of those beautiful women on the planet, and he stopped for some Hollywood Boulevard like $10 hoe and got caught. I never understood that. That's not something. His situation doesn't require a redemption story. His situation just requires an explanation. I just need to know you had Elizabeth Hurley for free waiting for you at home. Why did you stop and pick up the street urchin? What
Ugh.
was that about?
Okay, so that kind of sounds like the Eddie Murphy situation where he was caught with the transgender prostitute Cinnamon. Wasn't that her name? Cinnamon? His name? Her?
Multiple times. Multiple
Was it
times.
multiple times?
Eddie
I thought there
Murphy.
was like one.
No, Eddie Murphy has been. That's a thing about Eddie Murphy. I'm just
He's into
telling you
trans.
right now.
We should tell Becky.
It's been who?
Becky.
Yeah.
Becky's single. Becky's looking to hook up. Wouldn't you love it if one of our friends dated Eddie Murphy?
Started dating Eddie Murphy? That would be
yeah. Cool. If that's what he's in, man, we can make a love. They'll even pay for the date if the votes.
Jeff says that he went with the street urchin Hugh Grant when he had Elizabeth Hurley at home. Jeff says he went with the street urchin because the urchin doesn't make you beg. Well, I wouldn't beg the urchin. Did you see what the urchin looked like? I would beg the one that he had at home. The one that he had at home, Elizabeth Hurley in 1996, was beg worthy. She was worthy of you begging. The street urchin, not worthy of Hugh Grant. And it's Hugh Grant. You know, I know we're talking about Elizabeth Hurley back then in the mid 90s, but Hugh Grant was like, he could have walked. Hugh Grant didn't have to stop and pick up some streetwalker. Hugh Grant could have stopped on his way home. He could have pulled over into a Bennigan's parking lot, and he's Hugh Grant. He could have walked out of there with the most attractive Bennigan's bartender because he was Hugh Grant. You know what I mean? This isn't you or me who lucked out and got us an Elizabeth Hurley. This is a dude who, when he was walking with Elizabeth Hurley, people went, yeah, that couple makes sense. That's a very attractive two people. That makes sense. Hugh Grant did not need to beg anyone for anything. He was Hugh freaking Grant.
So yeah, he had all the game in the world, and how many girls would talk about how he's so sexy, he's so cute, and I would look at this guy, I'm like, that's a girl. How is that? How do I compete with that? He's like pretty, right? He like
foppy British guy.
Yeah,
I punch him in his face, I make him cry.
Right.
He didn't.
Probably doesn't even have body hair. He looks like a girl. What are you, lesbian?
Anyway, I don't know.
I was really jealous of him for a while there, and then to see him like stop off for a piece that I wouldn't take for free, just that blows my mind. That's a good point.
Divine Brown was
that the name? Divine.
That was the name.
It's almost as bad as Cinnamon.
He blew up his relationship with Elizabeth Hurley for Divine Brown, and tanked his career for a good 10 years. But do you know who benefited from that? I've always,
Elizabeth Hurley.
Do you know who Michael Sheen is?
No.
Not related to Martin Sheen or Charlie Sheen. Michael Sheen is a British actor. You'd know him if you saw him. It seems like the minute Hugh Grant got in trouble and all the Hugh Grant roles started to not go to Hugh Grant anymore, it seems like they all started to go to Michael Sheen. It seems like Michael Sheen. Here, this is Michael Sheen. I'll just quickly so you can go, oh, yeah, I know that dude. Well, Michael Sheen. Yeah, just go ahead. Pull Michael Sheen.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, okay. Yeah,
that guy got a whole lot of work after Hugh Grant got himself in trouble. And then all of a sudden, Michael Sheen is a famous actor because he's got that same exact kind of, I'm British, but I'm not scary. Women find me attractive, but I'm not raping.
He's like, he's a bootleg.
A bootleg Hugh Grant. That guy right there. Bootleg Hugh Grant. Hold on, wait. Let me picture you see. There you go. Look at him. Look, he's handsome.
Like that. Yeah.
There you go. Yeah. That's him, Michael Sheen. He became a movie star because Hugh Grant couldn't keep it in his pants for the 20-minute ride home to Elizabeth Hurley. Men, what are you going to do? All right, James.
All right, everybody.
You're gone.
We're not going to be
promote
here
your
tomorrow night, so go ahead and subscribe to Florida Stories now. Florida Stories, Florida Stories. I'm on a bunch of crap up though. So other things I can promote, I'm going to be on Pursuit of Happiness Radio tomorrow, KPRC in Houston. I'm just a guest on Ken Webster's show. I am co-hosting Mitch Gumbo out of New Orleans on WRNO Saturday morning, and got a new episode of Florida Stories that's going to be on Walter Sterling's nationally broadcasted Sterling on Sunday night.
Sunday night. He's got a full slate. And me, I'm chat room. Hear me? Am I back? Let me know if you can hear me, because I accidentally turned something off. I accidentally unplugged something. There's still no sound. You guys still can't hear me. I'm back. Okay, thank you, April. I'm back, and now I'm gone. Support the show if you can. We thank you, April. April gave a nice tip today. I do appreciate that. If you can appreciate any kind of help any of you can make to the show, we do accept your gratuities. Cash App, PayPal, Venmo, all of that kind of stuff. You can see it right down there at the bottom of the screen. Drop in whatever you can. If you can't, that's okay. I love you anyway. We're going to get through it. It is the end of the month. We do run this show based on your gratuity. So if you can, please do. And I appreciate it. And that's going to do it. Bye, everybody. See you tomorrow. Okay. High noon tomorrow.